Welcome to the Leading Ladies Podcast with international leadership coach, speaker, author, trainer, and your host, Fiona Nicolow. The Leading Ladies Podcast shares stories and advice from women around the world who have successfully navigated the glass ceiling. You'll gain powerful insights into strategies for cracking the glass ceiling, embracing your self-worth and value, and advocating for yourself and others. So please join Fiona for frank, courageous, and heartfelt conversations designed to take you on a journey to new levels of personal and professional success.
Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Leading Ladies of podcast. I hope you've really been enjoying our first 10 episodes so far. I'm really excited to launch this, and I'm already getting lots and lots of suggestions from other awesome women for you to meet. And today I am really pleased to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Tiffany Nicolow, a friend who's really taught me how to be graceful and strong at the same time. She's just a beautiful human being. Tiffany is an experienced human resources professional and is a strong proponent of supporting the human aspect of employment in all directions for the purpose of building strong organizations with the most elegant, efficient, and prosperous teams. Tiffany is currently with Western Front Products and has worked in a wide range of industries, including aerospace with Orion and Toray Composites, and also in the health and beauty aids industry, where she gained recognition for building effective teams. Tiffany's experience encompasses executive coaching, employee relations, organizational development, and recruiting. And she also serves as the Legislative Director, the Puget Sound chapter of the Society of Human Resources Management. So welcome, Tiffany.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much. It was beautiful.
Oh, you're most welcome. So Tiffany, aside from your rather impressive resume, is there anything else that you would like our audience to know about you?
I think for the purposes of this podcast, I think it's important for people to know that, on top of our professional lives, I'm also a wife and a mother to a 13-year-old, which is an exciting journey of its own. And that I have things that I love, like being outdoors in the Pacific Northwest. And we've just moved into a new home, and I have a garden that I've inherited that desperately needs my attention.
I have half an acre, so I can appreciate what that's like.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, we're here today to talk about a whole range of issues. But as you know, the topic of this whole movement, podcast series, whatever we're calling it, is around encouraging more women to get out there and break that glass ceiling. So what are your thoughts on the glass ceiling? Do you think it still exists?
I definitely think it exists. My thoughts on it is that we indeed need to do exactly what you're setting forth, and that is just break it down. It's like any other wall or barrier to one's ability to be the best that they can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there shouldn't be anything that is that serves as resistance to that, and that is for the betterment of humankind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not for one race or for one gender, but if we can all be exactly what and grow ourselves to be exactly what we want and need to be, then again, it just is for the betterment of humankind. So glass ceilings be gone.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I spoke about in a recent podcast with one of our guests is the fact that the glass ceiling is both external to us and internal to us. So
Indeed.
There's lots of different ways to get out there and smash it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really blessed that we can share some of our thoughts on this with women around the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. So Tiffany, today we're here to talk about the topic like hires like.
Mm-hmm.
And this came about from a conversation that you and I were having about the lack of diversity in aerospace and our views on the systemic reasons behind it. And I was reading a Harvard Business Review article on this. What is causing it? Why does it look so similar, whatever conference you go to or whatever? And we're talking specifically about aerospace here, but it relates to a lot of other industries. Mm-hmm. And in this Harvard Business Review article, I was reading that, a lot of people often subconsciously are hiring people of the same race, education level, gender, economic status, personality traits, and it's a much more significant factor in hiring than people think. And it's because people are looking for points of similarity, because similarity keeps you safe. And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? What is your experience of like hires like being?
Well, it's where to begin. It is a real thing. It is true that I definitely have experienced. I know other African Americans who've experienced or think they have experienced like hires like, and by that, um, uh, it's it can be very obvious when it's happening in an interview.
Mhm.
And people may not realize that, but it is actually obvious. And I've been in a room where I was with a hiring manager, myself, and a candidate, and could see immediately and knew I got so good at doing this. And this is in aerospace where I knew automatically when a hiring manager would say yes and when they would say no. And again, it didn't have anything to do with the resume.
Yeah.
It didn't have anything to do with experience. It had to do with color of skin, simply, right?
Mhm.
I've watched darker skinned males, in particular in aerospace, have a much harder time than very light skinned males. Um, and there's, I know it seems so cliched, especially in the African American community, the light and dark skin question. But I think that it's a comfort level, and it can be uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me to talk about right now, in fact, but it is a truth and it is my experience. So I guess I want people to know that it is real. It does happen, and I know it's not always that someone isn't able to do the work or isn't um, not just able but qualified to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tiffany, I really appreciate, what you just said about, it's difficult to talk about. It is uncomfortable. Um, Personally, having been through it from a person of color point of view, obviously I have some experience with gender. But I just really appreciate you being willing to bring this important topic to us.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what kind of conversations have you had with people in those companies when you've seen that show up, and how has it been received?
Well, over the years I've grown myself, so um, I made the mistake of trusting the companies, some of them that I've worked with, and when they say that they're interested in diversity,
Hmm.
and this is not simply uh, aerospace. This
Yep,
is, I also
absolutely.
worked for an agency at the state, and I think they were the biggest. Uh, there was the biggest issue was with hiring there. I once said,
Hmm.
"I'm the only African American in the entire agency." That's or no, that's not accurate. I was the only African American female
Hmm.
at that time in the entire agency, and I asked, could we please hire to reflect at least the percentages within Washington State? And I was told, for this particular agency, we don't cater to that population. So for me, it was, all I could think of. Oh well, I know plenty of brown people who go outside and enjoy the outdoors, right, and all the beauty that our state has to offer. But um, it's again, it's a real thing. It's difficult and it's uncomfortable and it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. And whew, yeah, feeling a lot of emotion right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I've had a lot of conversations with people about hiring more diverse teams, and one of the answers that I often get back is, "Well, we'll hire the best person for the job."
Yes.
And the answer annoys me so much, because I know that the subconscious bias is there, and who you think is the best person for the job may not be the best person for the job. And sometimes I feel like people are just valuing too much on what's on paper in terms of, oh, how many degrees they have and how many big companies they've worked for. Sometimes actual real life experience and struggles and some of the challenges that people have to go through and the extra barriers to get to that same level. I really feel passionately that needs to be appreciated, but I haven't yet figured out how to communicate that gracefully. And that's one of the things that I really respect about you is the level of grace that you bring to some of these conversations. So, how do you do that? How do you maintain this composure and this grace in the face of injustice?
I don't know.
Well, you were
I'm glad,
amazing at it.
I'm glad it feels like grace and graceful. I think I definitely have learned that, my mom taught me that sometimes things just need to be said, right? And it doesn't matter who
Mhm.
says them.
Yeah.
So if if I'm in a room and I'm in a place and I have a platform to help with some type of injustice, or for me it's either being a woman or being a black woman or being um, black in America. Those are the platforms that not everyone has automatically, right? So
Mhm. Yeah.
we're being human, we all have that platform, we can
Mhm.
all understand things. And so when I'm explaining something or trying to get someone not to agree with me, that's not important always. It is, can you just see or understand or really subscribe to a different thought, a different
Mhm.
idea? You don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to, action it out or anything. But can you bring yourself to that understanding? And to do that, human beings tend to um, respond better to calm, respond better to rational, respond better to logical. And so I really try to do that. I really attempt to put myself in somebody else's shoes to understand where are they coming from with
Yeah.
this particular topic. And then how, given that space, how can I share with them what I think needs to be shared?
Mhm.
And that becomes what's important, right?
Yeah.
The what I've been taught is an emotional hit, that getting angry and riled up, and sometimes that's appropriate and sometimes that's the vehicle that is needed, but
Yeah.
doing it in a measured way, doing it in a way that doesn't lose track of the outcome, right? What do
Mhm.
I want for myself in this situation, or what do I want for my community or for my family, or for my
Mhm.
team, right?
Yeah.
um, so then that becomes the focus and it helps.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What I love about that is that it's almost like you have a thought process. This is bigger than me. Like I love
Yes,
that question. What
absolutely.
do I want for my family? What do I want for my team? Essentially, it brings you outside of your body, looking in on your emotions. So I
Yes.
really, really love that. Um, but for those times when maybe those emotions are really strong, what do you do to kind of bring them down before having those conversations? Do you have any tips for our listeners?
Oxygen.
Oxygen, yeah,
Oxygen, just breathe,
yeah.
breathe. Um, for me, it's yeah, just breathing and
Mhm.
really trying to go within myself, and then I
Yeah.
just have to ask myself those same questions, right? What do I want out of this? What do I want for my team? Like really, that is kind of, it becomes second nature, and it has become second nature.
Mhm.
Um, Usually, those moments, even, I mean, given what is going on in the world, and not even the world, given going on, 2 hours up the road from me, which
Yeah.
is in Seattle, today, this very moment, right? And the things that have happened in our country recently. For me, people have asked, "Are you angry? Are you upset?" I'm not angry. I'm not angry. But the thing that I needed to do was to really see it in a deeper order. And what does that
Mhm.
mean? Like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
What are the pros and the cons that can come from this?
Mhm.
Um, where do I want to sit with the outcome? You know,
Mhm.
years down the road, when my teenager says, "Mommy, what did you think about all of that?" Or "What did you do? What was the response?" One of the things that I want to be able to say is, I did take action. And
Yeah.
one of the things I've done thus far was, you mentioned that I sit on the board at the South Puget Sound SHRM chapter, and we were emails were going out. What do we do? What do we do? And I said, we're human resources. We know
Mhm.
exactly what to do. We
Yeah.
need to hire more diverse teams. So
Mhm.
look at your organizations, look at your companies. Where do you need diversity? And hire for that. And it's not good enough to say, oh, they don't apply. Go find them.
Mhm.
They're here.
Yeah.
They're looking for jobs. So we know what to do. And so I want to look back and say, that was within my scope, within my expertise, and I could do that. And absolutely, that's what's happening.
Yeah. And I love that phrase, we know what to do.
Yeah.
We know what to do. We know that we need to get out there and reach more people. We know that we need to tackle those things. What do you think has had people hold back until now?
Well, I think the
Not
human,
everybody, but
not everybody, definitely.
so I acknowledge that.
So, in my life, and I hope that it's still short, even though I've been on the planet for a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, I've seen a few of these, what I'll call rounds, right?
Mhm.
Um, Now, going back to that glass ceiling, we've busted through a ceiling and only to find another, and busted
Yeah.
through a ceiling and only to find another. I think
Definitely triple glazing, eh?
yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And I think you're right. I think we're finding the further on we go, the glass isn't getting thinner
Mhm. Yeah.
necessarily, right? So uh, as we move forward, and what I call rounds,
Mhm.
okay, this time in the ring, this round, what are the important items? And we do the same thing. We tend to say, okay, we need to listen,
Yeah.
and somebody needs to talk to us, and we need to train, and we need to hire someone to train us, and we need, and we do that every single round.
Yeah.
And when I say we know what to do, uh, there may be some talking that needs to happen. There may be some listening that needs to happen, but we already know what to do, right?
Mhm.
If we know how to hire men at the executive level, why
Yeah.
would that be different than hiring women at the
Mhm.
executive level, right? We know how to do that. We
Yeah.
know how to hire men and women um, at medium management level. Why
Mhm.
can't we do that for all different shades of human,
Yeah.
right? We know
Mhm.
what to do and we know how to do it.
Mhm.
We choose, actively choose not to. And then we build a case around why we can't, or why we shouldn't, or, and part of that is, well, we're going to hire the best person for the job, right?
Yeah.
It's part of
Yeah.
that wall, part of that ceiling. It's sewn in, or I don't know, what do you do to glass? Tempered. It's
Mm.
tempered in
Yeah.
to the glass itself. Is we're going to hire the best person.
Absolutely. And I think it's just recognizing that hiring the best person for the job is completely subjective. And I remember reading once about how somebody was looking at how doing interviews that were, faceless, kind of like in The Voice,
Yes.
but not even faceless. Also, actually using, I don't know if the right word is animatronics or whatever it is, but you
Hmm.
actually using computerized voices so that nobody could nobody could judge.
Yeah.
And I'd be really curious to actually see that come to life. But part of me, like the hopeful part of me, has hope that with everything going on right now, today is Juneteenth, and we're right at the height of recent events, and with the protests and the demonstrations, and in the middle of coronavirus, and my hope is that as we emerge from this, we are a more evolved society, and we're consciously tackling some of these things. I
Yeah.
mean, am I just dreaming here? What are your thoughts?
um, we have to make that choice, right? If
Mhm.
that's what we want to be, then that's what we can be.
Yeah.
Um, you know, here, this might be our moment. So I have thoughts about, Black Lives Matter and
Mhm.
Democratic Party, and there's many things, especially during this time, that I find that I'm on. Maybe I don't know if it's unique, but people don't expect it from me.
Yeah.
Um, and that is, over the last few years, I've grown into a Trump supporter,
Mhm.
and um, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
as, as as a Black
I can only
person.
imagine the conversations.
Very interesting. Um, However, if I share what it is that's important to me, right? What's important to me? Right now, I really subscribe to the fact that I do think that our country has been attacked by something, right?
Mhm.
I do.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on what that is, and it's a shame that I can't, but I can't right now. Um, And I think that we've been attacked in two of our weakest places.
Mhm.
One, if I were an enemy and I wanted to attack, I would take out the economic system. That's been done. I
Yeah.
know I won't go into that any further, but um, and then secondly, if I want to weaken a community or if I want to weaken a society, I would hit them in their weakest place. For the
Mhm.
United States, our weakest place happens to be our race relations.
Yeah.
So for me, it's this time around seems like racism. It's not racism as it um, racism as usual.
Okay.
Um, to me, this is a strategic move to incite an emotion. And
Mhm.
so when I step back from it and really look at it, yes, the United States, we have racial issues, we have gender issues that need to be dealt with. And my hope is that at the end of this, just like you say, we begin to do that. Truly, we begin to, since we know what to do and we know how to act,
Yeah.
and what actions to take to help heal some of those things. I hope that we choose to do that
Mhm.
for the betterment of all, right? And in the meantime, there's this other thing that seems to be going on that I don't want to lose track of. And I think um, going within myself and being able to just, again, see things beyond me.
Mhm.
Um, I think my country is in need of um, help and assistance right now,
Yeah.
and burning down my city isn't going to help my country right now.
Yeah.
But um, so I that is how I see the current situation, and um, when I looked into, I'm a researcher, so when I looked into Black Lives Matter and found out that the majority of those millions of dollars don't, hundreds of millions of dollars don't really see Black communities at all. But
Yeah.
there's a company, wish I had the name, it's Blue something, but I encourage your listeners to look into Black Lives Matter and see who quote unquote owns it. And the money that goes to Black Lives Matter goes directly to the Democratic Party,
Mhm.
which I am embarrassed to say I had been a part of until I really did the research and found out what the Democratic Party is truly all about. That does not make me a Republican. It just makes me more aware, it gives me more information in which to make decisions in this time. So I think that moving forward and into the future and healing means having good information for which to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
So when we have those good statistics and we can realize that yes, we know how to hire women and how
Yeah.
not to treat people poorly and how to
Mhm.
hire, people of all different colors and backgrounds. We
Yeah.
realize we know how to do that and we just do it. And we know the injustices that have happened. And if we choose not to be unjust, then we can do that too.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah,
So what I'm hearing is get educated,
yes,
get bigger, get beyond yourself,
yes,
um, and get in the other person's shoes.
absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
And coming down to a more tactical level, you and I different in many ways. We look different. Um, I I'm feisty, you were graceful. We have lots of different views on lots of different things, from from politics to where we should live and how to approach the world. Yet we still have this just this connection. I really, really appreciate. You know what can women like you and I that are so different, what can we be doing together to be part of driving this change and making things different this time?
There's an old saying that by their fruit you'll know them. And
Mhm.
our world moves so fast. However, when you and I were first introduced to each other, and even to this day, no part of our building a relationship has gone by fast,
Yeah.
right? It takes time. There are many
Mhm.
months when we don't speak to each other, right?
Yeah.
But then I know that when it's important, we do.
Mhm.
And when it's joyful, we do. When there's an event coming or something, we do,
Mhm.
and we have that's the connection. It's
Yeah.
very human.
Mhm.
It's very natural, and when those things occur, we know exactly what to do, and we do
Mhm.
it, right? So treating each other with respect, grace, feistiness, bringing to the table what we have to bring to the table.
Mhm.
I shared with you that oh wow, I think having a podcast would be fantastic, and there's some things that I would love to talk about. Um, and I think for you, that feistiness in you made that happen for your life, right?
Yeah.
And then that has touched my life and allowed me to participate in this. So
Mhm.
there's a human connection, right? So what
Yeah.
can we do? Again, what we can do is be our best selves, and when we um, need to act and can act, do so.
Mhm.
Right? Um, you were struck very strongly to do this
Yeah.
by an event in your life, and so you
Mhm.
did, and that's affecting the world,
Yeah.
right? What if someone told you no? What if someone said no, you can't have that podcast, because you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, going to breaking those glass ceilings is really important. Breaking
Mhm.
the really Let's redefine when we use and how we use no.
Yeah.
How can we do that better? How can
Yeah.
we use no better?
And I love that you say that because no has been my biggest motivator in life.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I mean, but just being told. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I wasn't one of well, I was really I wasn't I didn't misbehave, but I was definitely one of those mouthy kids who liked to challenge the teachers. And I
Mhm.
remember my principal was like, "Oh, which university do you want to go to?" I want to go to Oxford. He was like,
Yes.
"I think you're setting your heights too high, Fiona. You should be looking a little bit lower. Our head girls, they haven't got in, and and so I was, right. You tell me no, I will show you. Um, and I guess that just shows up for me again and again and again. Tell me no, you watch. Like I
Right.
even have this shirt that says "Underestimate me, I dare you."
Yes. It's beautiful. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. What are some of the things that motivate you to keep going? I mean, is no what motivates you, or is there something? Is there a particular experience, particular phrase that makes you go, "Yeah, I'm going to do this"?
Uh, there isn't a particular phrase or anything like that. I don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh well, maybe there is. If I Let me think a little more about that. So, I tend to say to myself, "Oh, that's not for me,"
Okay.
right? And I've had that since I was a child.
Mhm.
Um, I had an experience where I was sitting in a classroom, and someone had we had a visitor, and someone they wanted a internship, something like an internship,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to do it,
Yeah.
but that little voice in my head said, "Oh, that's not for you,"
Mhm.
right? And then I didn't let anyone know that I wanted to participate in that program, and I didn't, and I got mad at myself, really just upset and disappointed. And what came next was my new saying, which was, "But why not me?"
Yeah.
Right? Why not me? And it's a very simple thing, and I know people have said it before, and maybe even now it's cliche, but that to me is one of the biggest motivators now for just believing in myself, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
what makes me so special that I can't? You know what I mean? Why can others, but I can't?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just don't believe I'm that special. I think that I'm very much like others, and
Mhm.
if it can be done, then I am capable of doing it too.
Yeah.
Maya Angelou quoted Terence, and Terence was a freed slave and playwright, and he said, "Because I am man, nothing human can be foreign to me." She changed it, and she
Mhm.
said, "Because I am human, nothing
Yeah.
human can be foreign to me." And I believe that. Like, if a human can do it, I
Mhm.
why can't I? You know,
Yeah.
and so and I don't want to take that to extremes, right? I'm 5'3". I'm not going to be a basketball star,
Yeah.
right? But I can learn how to shoot. Why
Mhm.
not?
Yeah.
So it can be done. So I think for me, it's that question of, if it's something that I want to do and I'm in, why not? Why
Why
not do
not
it?
me? Why
Yeah,
not me? I love that.
yeah,
I love it. And
yeah,
I think that's something that all of our listeners could take on for everybody in their life. You know, when your friends and your family say, "Oh, I can't," turn around and say, "Why not me?"
yeah,
Or "Why not you? Why not you?"
right.
You
Yeah,
know? Yeah, I love that. Absolutely
it's
love
true.
that. Yeah.
And also looking into our society in the places where especially women are told no, right? Like, I remember my father, I was um, 20, I was 20 years old, and I
Yeah.
was going to move from Michigan to Arizona, and I was driving. And my father did not and refused to believe that I was going to drive my car by myself from Michigan to Arizona.
Yeah.
I didn't know how long I was going to stay there, but I had my little car filled with
Mhm.
all my belongings and I wasn't coming back for a while. I knew that much.
Yeah.
And he just wouldn't believe it. And
Mhm.
I believe the day he passed, he thought that one of my male friends had Josh, thought for certain that Josh got in the car and drove with me to Arizona. And
Mhm.
it just boggled my mind then, and it does now,
Yeah.
that there are things that human beings think that other human beings can't do because of
Mhm.
gender or because of
Yeah.
race or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
a strange concept
Mm.
for me.
Mind-boggling. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I'm glad we share that. I'm glad we share that. And as you said, I loved what you said earlier about, it's a long-term investment. Um,
Yes.
and what I love about our relationship is that it's always been raw and real.
Yes.
We don't just ring each other to tell each other the good stuff. I mean, just for our audience, I have been picked up the phone to Tiffany when I am broken,
Mm.
heartbroken, gone some of my most awful experiences because I
Yeah.
just value her opinion so much. And yeah, I think the humanness and the ability to get real is just it's crucial. And I
It
never
is
really thought
crucial.
about it until now. So
Yeah.
just yeah. So I really appreciate that about you. Yeah. So as you can see from the logo, we have the steps
Love
on the
that
shoe.
logo. Yes.
And for me that step is essentially represents reaching back to the women that are essentially behind us on the journey and pulling them through. I don't
Yeah.
want to see any more people getting through that glass ceiling and being like, thank God I've got it. Whew, I can rest now. you know
Right.
Celebrate your success, but you stick your hand back through that glass and you keep pulling.
Yeah.
And I'm curious on two fronts. First of all, what can we be doing to help the women behind us? But I want to take it a step further and, what is it that, you know, women like me, white women, what can we be doing to better appreciate the struggles that women of color go through and actually being a true ally and not a performative ally?
You know, again, we know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know when we're in situations to help other human beings that are
Yeah.
in need, whether
Mm-hmm.
that is, regardless of who it is. We
Yeah.
already know how to do it. The moment we stop and say, well, I'm not going to help that person because, and
Mm-hmm.
anything can come up, right? Um, Usually we feel it may be a threat in our professional circles. It may be a threat to ourselves and to our where we stand. I've experienced that quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where if I know something or if I have information or if someone, you know, assists me in some kind of way or I assist them, then that's a threat. right? That person can't be seen to. I had a horrible manager once, and she literally told me that she didn't want me to build relationships with the managers. Well,
Mhm.
as a senior HR consultant at the time, that was my job.
Yeah.
And I was the only one being told, don't build those relationships with those managers. It happens to be something that I do really well. I want
Yeah.
to know what their needs are, and then I want to deliver.
Mhm.
They are my customers, and I want to deliver what they need,
Yeah.
and that builds relationship. And I
Mhm.
was being told not to do that, and I was being chastised to do that. Of course, I'm no longer there,
Mhm.
and that's because I could no longer I, I couldn't work under those circumstances. I had to leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that what we can do, all of us, again, is we're not to. We don't have to go outside of ourselves, right? There's nothing special we need to do.
Mhm.
We need to be ourselves and quote unquote treat everyone equally,
Yeah.
right? That's all. That's all it is. I went. I had a facial. I vowed to do more self care during this time, so I had a facial, and um, this woman who saves my face. I call her the face saver. She says, um, she watched a comedian regarding um, the awful atrocities that happened to to George Floyd, and this comedian said some things that triggered her, and she's a white woman, and she said, what do I do with that? I said, well, I watched that same comedian, and he's one of my favorites, and I really enjoy him. But about 2 minutes into what he was saying, I realized he was not there to entertain me.
Yeah.
He's a black man
Mhm.
with about the same shade and build as the man that we saw there pressed into the concrete. And he
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
having a visceral experience, and he was using his craft, in my mind, he was using his craft to heal himself. And I was
Yeah.
perfectly willing to sit there and listen to what he had to say and to watch his pain as he tried to entertain. Um, and so when I said to her, there was a story that he told in the segment that was particularly disturbing to her as a white woman, and something he had said. And he said, it wasn't about you, though.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
about, what happened to the person because of what this other woman did.
Mhm.
And this is his response to the
Yeah.
entire thing, right? Not as a comedian, not as a person who we all enjoy and laugh with, and gets paid, but this is just simply as a human being who was mirrored with an atrocity. He saw
Yeah.
himself in that. So let's look at things in a deeper order. Let's really think things through. Let's really, you know, put ourselves in other people's shoes, and put ourselves in other people's minds, and really try to work out what our intentions, and know our own intention, right?
Yeah.
I think those are the things that we can do. Um, all of us, not just white women,
Mhm.
everyone can
Yeah.
do to make it better.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot around, allowing the human experience.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people might be saying something or explaining something to us and it makes us feel uncomfortable, but it's allowing them to process what they've been through.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I think a lot of people can actually identify with that. I mean, like when you watch the media and movies and stuff, like that emotion is often because we can resonate, and it's no different with day to day experiences that people go through. And so, what I'm hearing is to really give people space to experience what they're going through, and rather than have that defensiveness from being offended, to actually sit back and say, okay, where is this coming from? What is the, if I get some altitude here, what is the experience? What is this person trying to do, and how can I connect with this person?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If I and
beautiful.
and asking the question, do I want to engage? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I still want to know, if I'm drawn to a situation, I still want to use all of my faculties to find out, do I want to participate in this?
Yeah.
And maybe I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
So I might understand someone clearly, and they may not be a good person. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I want to engage, but it also doesn't
Yeah.
mean I need to judge. There
Yeah.
are people who absolutely hate with all of their being women, and who
Mm-hmm.
hate with all of their being Black people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those people exist, um, and that has to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to judge that.
Yeah.
I need to mind how I'm living my own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going quiet here because I'm like, how do I not judge those people? Yeah. And I just love what you're saying there about, hey, this is about my life and I'll control what I can control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I really, really appreciate you, being willing to dive in so deeply and so raw and in such a raw way into some of these topics, sharing your experiences. I'm a true believer that the more we talk about these things and get them out in the open, the more we'll
Yes.
promote understanding. Even as you say, if people, are completely opposite to your own beliefs, like,
Mm,
then got to seek to understand. So I
right.
really appreciate you being willing to share these things with our audience.
Thank you for having me. I'm just so um, blessed to know you and to watch your feistiness go and release onto the world. I think that um, if given, I want you, my hope for you is that you bust through all of the glass ceilings in your mind and then definitely destroy all of the ceilings that are on the outside of you as well. And you are well on your way to doing that. You were born to do it, and it's
Thank you.
happening. And you have all the skill and ability and heart to make that happen, um, and better our world for all. I mean, really, the work that you're doing and that you're drawn to do, right, is making the entire world a better place, asking us to think deeper on why do we have these ceilings anyway?
Yeah.
You asked, what can women do to reach back through? I think, yes, we need to reach back through, but at the same time, we need to be chipping away. Our daily work is to chip away at the ceiling in general, make
Yeah.
that hole that we came through bigger and bigger and bigger,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So eventually it doesn't even exist. And this is where I would call on male allies.
Yeah.
We as women didn't build that ceiling, I promise you.
Yeah.
So male allies, get rid of the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Stop calling us troublemakers
Yeah.
when we're asking questions or we are saying something's not right,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or that we've been treated in a certain way. Stop
Yeah.
doing that. Stop spreading that. Stop spreading, oh, did you hear that's a troublemaker?
Yeah.
Stop doing that. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not doing that for your male counterparts, and maybe you are, don't
Mm-hmm.
do it for your female counterparts. Just
Yeah,
stop doing it.
definitely seems to be a theme that's come up in the podcast so far around double standards. Like,
Yes,
if you're behaving in a way that you know is not just being quiet and keeping your head down, I feel like women are far more likely to be labeled quicker.
yes,
And it's like,
yes,
I always ask the question, would you say that if I was a man? And
right.
sometimes the answer is yes. Um, but I sometimes feel like, when we step outside of the stereotypical gender behaviors, it can be really tough for women sometimes.
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
So why not get rid of that thought altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what again, we know what to do. We
Mm-hmm.
know how to have a world without ceilings for white males in particular,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why can't we have a world without ceilings for everyone?
Yeah.
What kind of world would that be if everyone was allowed to be their absolute best?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And recognize that, if somebody is passionate about something and is speaking out and, perhaps is louder than you want them to be, or causing conversations that you're uncomfortable with, maybe it's a question of saying, hey, what is this about? There must be something underneath this. If
Yeah.
that person is touched to their very core to speak out about this, there is something in it. and
Yes.
I'm going to stop and listen and learn. And yeah, you're triggering a lot of emotion in me right now, because
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that has been labeled, and it really hurts.
it does
It
hurt.
hurts,
Yeah.
especially when your heart's in the right place and you want to do the right thing and you're trying. And
Right.
so I love what you say about, think twice before giving people labels.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I've just had a
Oh,
ball.
yeah, me
Really
too.
appreciate you.
Me too. I could talk to you all day long, Tiffany, and I
Thanks.
look forward to having you back at some point, because I know that our journey together isn't over, and
No.
and there's just so much beauty that you can share with the world, and I'm just so honored that today our listeners got to learn about you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, and for everybody that is listening right now, remember, if you go to the show notes at mackayunlimited.com, you can read more about Tiffany. You can find out how to get in touch with Tiffany. Some of the things that she talked about today, it's all going to be there in the show notes. So please go to the website and give us your feedback. What did you enjoy about today? What could we do better? Who do you want to hear from in the future? We're here to create this community together, and the more you tell us that you want to know, the more we will get more and more people on this show, and we'll be breaking that glass ceiling faster. So thanks everybody for dialing in and having this really important conversation today.
Thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you now have additional tools and insights for creating your own cracks in the glass ceiling. If you think this will inspire and help others, please share this episode on your social media and leave your comments on mackayunlimited.com/podcasts. For more tips and support as you embrace your journey through the glass ceiling, please join our community Facebook group at leadingladiesofFB.com.